Well, welcome everybody. My name is Rick Castañon. I've just taken over from Dave Graham, uh, who I would really like to thank for all the for his patience in trying to help me through these technical issues. For those of you who don't know, Dave finally sold his home here, and is he's in Arizona. And I don't wish anything ill of him, but I hope he has a good air conditioner where he's living now, because he's not going to be in San Diego. And he'll be missed. I don't know anybody who's spent as much time and effort that he has in the umpire program here for District 33. Um, Most of you have seen him for the last couple of years. I've been away for the last couple of years due to physical limitations, but I have a new hip now. I'm umpiring games, and so I've jumped in with both feet with one good hip, uh, and that's where we are tonight. I'd like Dave to talk a little bit and let you guys know what he's doing and what's in store for him. Go ahead, Dave.
Hey, thanks, Rick. I really appreciate it. I can say that it has been an absolute honor and a tremendous learning experience representing District 33 as umpire-in-chief. And they say that the best way to teach or the best way to learn is to teach, and that is never more true than these last couple of years that I've been involved here. I just want to say thanks to Father Rick for taking this on. For those of you who don't know Father Rick, he's been around much longer than I have. He is a trusted colleague and a regional umpire, and I have a tremendous amount of respect for all of the work that he puts in. He also runs the event staff program for Little League at the West Region facilities during their regional tournament. So you are in absolute good hands. And then I am around as a resource from afar, so I can provide remote technical support for meetings such as this and rule interpretations. One of the things that I love the most is when you text me or email me the edge cases, and we have those really somewhat spirited conversations about rule interpretation. So thank you again, Rick. Pass it back to you guys.
Okay. No, thank you, Dave. And all of us, we have a great deal of gratitude for you and your rules interpretations. I've spent many a nights going through our text messages from the staff, reading your breakdowns and your analysis. So it was a tremendous help for me. Okay, Mark Beal's going to start off. Going to start this presentation off. We've gone through this and we've pared it down just to the things that we need to know. This is not a complete rules clinic. These are the things that are unique to All Stars, the international tournament for Little League. I hope all of you had a chance to download some of the forms, the summary form, because we will be talking about some of those points in here. This is really meant to be a highlight of the things that we need to do and need to know. Let's see. Okay, if you do have any questions, please put them in the chat. Ken is going to be monitoring that. He will jump in if there's something that is a hot button that we need to discuss right now. Otherwise, we'll take a break and then we'll answer your questions on the break. I myself will be around at the end. If anybody else has any questions, burning questions that they wish to ask me, I'll be around after the meeting has concluded. So go ahead and put your questions in the chat. Okay, Mark, do you want to take over?
Okay. First off, Robin here, I hope you're riding on one of the buses for the company you work with, not driving right now. But no, good evening, everyone. What we're going through is, as Rick said, the differences and the rules, the regulations, potentially some situations that are geared toward the international tournament, or all-star tournament as it's more commonly called. and it comes out of, this is a picture of the table of contents from the Little League app. And if you haven't downloaded that somewhere, it's a free app, and it's a complete Little League rule book for all of the different divisions. So it's worth the time to do it, which isn't very long, and it's definitely worth the cost because it doesn't cost you anything. You've got a great resource in the palm of your hand. Dave, I don't know if I have control or somebody's got to click the slide. Looks like somebody's got to click the slide for me. Okay, rule summary that Rick was talking about, that it's a document that someone in the Little League world, and it's changed over the years who does it, but it's a very clear summary broken down by the division and then by individual rules, that if you haven't clicked the QR code, you can at least have it there. It is one, as Rick suggested, both in the emails that he sent out and tonight, to have it with you. And it's a good one that, as my umpire bag goes in the car, this summary sheet does also, because, many of you will be working across different divisions, and sometimes you need to know what happens between 8-10 and 11-12, because there are differences between the different divisions. And it's a good resource. So I'm glad it's out there. Okay, next slide. So as we go through tonight, we are going to cover the difference, I said. We're also going to cover some of the responsibility and things that you'll be exposed to as you arrive at a field, because this is no longer a District 33 tournament, even though you look in the lower left-hand corner and it says, official district. Well, that's what we are within Little League. And this is Little League's tournament. This isn't Rolando, La Mesa National, Chollas Lake, Sunshine. It's not your tournament. It's not my tournament. It's a tournament run by Little League Baseball out of Williamsport, Pennsylvania. And hopefully you've been reading the screen, because that's exactly it. We get, some leagues get waivers, or you may have the well, this is what we do in our league rules. Those are all out now. You are playing, if you remember back a couple slides, I showed you that Little League rule book application. And it's one that that's it. That's where the rules of this tournament is. And if you forget or decide not to follow the rules, there is a very strong chance that Little League will revoke a team's or league's privileges to be part of the tournament. If you've been following the news over the last X number of years, you see a lot of teams that had to forfeit a title or get pulled out because they weren't playing by the rules. They were playing by the desire to win more than the team they're playing, but not winning it on a field, winning it outside of the rules. And Little League will not allow that. Next slide, please. So here it is. It starts with the chain of command. If a problem can't be resolved while you're on the field, the coach is going to come out and say, I don't agree with this. Get your crew back together. And if it's one person, talk to yourself, but decide if you made the correct ruling. If you haven't, then pull in the site director. If the site director can't decide the proper application of the rule, interpretation of the rule, then they'll go to the tournament director. Tournament director then goes to the regional director, and that's out of San Bernardino. Or it could be an individual that Kit has designated as her representative for that phone call. And if she can't get satisfaction of the question, then she's going to go to tournament committee, which resides in Williamsport. And once they make a decision, it's final. There isn't a higher being that anyone can go to. Once the tournament committee says this is what it is, that's what it is. So you see that the levels going through everything that you played so far this year, most of them stopped here at the either district, or if we had to go to the region. I know of nothing that went to the region this year. It all was decided within the district. So it just gives you a little bit of the span and the different levels going through. I see the question that popped up, and I'll answer here. Tournament director is Clayberry. So in every district, typically the district administrator is the tournament director for there. There is a difference between the site director. Site director is at the site, at the field. Tournament director is over the entire tournament being run by the district. Next
Mark,
slide, please.
While you're answering a quick question, we had another question that came up on the QR code. It brought us to the 2025 rule summary. Is there a 2026 rule summary? That's from.
If
Yes, there
I don't know
is.
if it can get uploaded tonight, but if you go back into your email, and one of Rick Castañon's email had had a link to it. A second one had the actual document attached, so you can find them at one of those two places until we can get the QR code fixed. Okay, and it's also as Bob just helped me, it's also on the District 32 website. Which, Bob, I should have went to you first, being the award-winning site director or webmaster that you are for our district website. Okay, back into the organization of the tournament, just to give you a little background. It used to be, I believe it was June 15th before we could announce the teams. Well, now it's been moved up to May 15th. No tryouts or tournaments. Now we're past May 15th, so all that can through. Tournament team practices may only take place against other Little League teams within the same or contiguous districts. Contiguous districts to us would be District 41 out in East County, District 66 south of us, and then District 32 is north and west of us. So it'd be those three districts that one of the all-star managers could set up with. They can't go play against teams in Huntington Beach. They can't even go into District 31, another large district here, because they are not contiguous. And then you see at the bottom, very, very clearly stated in the rule book, umpires are not allowed to officiate practice games as we move forward. One thing that you're going to get that makes this the level of all-stars is we also use a common lineup card across all the games. The coaches will be provided a copy at the time they arrive at the field. And as it says, all the fields are required. So the team name, manager's full name, the date. They may not be able to circle the home and visitor setting because maybe when they got the lineup card, it hadn't been determined by the coin drop or coin flip going through. But as they go down, uniform number, jersey number, last name full, first initial, and then the starting position for the players that are starting. So again, we get into a level of competition that we need consistency, and we provided. This is something we probably started 15, 18 years ago, using a very common lineup card. So as you go from field to field, as you move around, you're going to have some of the same benefits as you did in the last game and your next game. Next. It's a 4-bar card. You've seen them, hopefully. Only the official tournament lineup cards provided by the site director can be used. Lineups must be submitted prior to taking the field. Not something you all have to worry about, but just so you know. As we go, the canary copy, which I believe is the third copy, goes to the scorekeeper. At the plate meeting, man, you should get 3 lineups for each team, 3 lineup cards for each team as they go through, and then you distribute from there. Each team would get one, and of course, you as the umpire-in-chief, the plate umpire, would keep one. Next. Here's a summary of the significant updates. You'll see this. This is one of the lines on the table of contents in the rulebook app. And what are the changes for 2000, even though this says 2024, in the rulebook, it's going to be 2026. And you see continuous batting order for all levels of play except for seniors. Seniors use a bat 9, a traditional batting order. Each team's permitted to have up to 3 managers and coaches. Really, it usually works out to 1 manager and 2 coaches. Junior division and below, a courtesy runner can be used anytime there are 2 outs. We'll cover that in detail. And then senior, to become eligible, they have limited or lessened the amount of games that they have to play. They just got to be chartered by June 1st. So all the teams that we are involved with are there. We get into now the tournament rules. 2025, and I apologize, I forgot these slides were added. So 2024, the ones that came out in 2024, this talks about the significant updates in 2025. And you've seen that the last 2 years. Umpires aren't going to check gear. The managers are responsible for the ensuring the equipment is legal and proper. As we go through some of the rules, we'll give you the definition of legal and proper, because you may have to rule on it during the game. You're just not checking it before the game. And then tournament rule 14, again, last year, the tie game goes through, and it really, this talks about when it starts. It used to, at the end of the regulation game, small diamond would be 6 innings. All the other diamonds above would be 7 innings. It used to start in the 8th or 9th. Now it starts in the next inning. So for majors and below, or 11, 12 and below, I guess I should change that too, because there is no majors and minors in here. It's the 8 to 10, 9 to 11, 11, 12, junior, and then senior is what all the divisions are called. But they play through their normal games. So 11, 12 and below. In the 7th inning, the tiebreaker will go into place. For intermediate and above, it would be the 8th inning. The tiebreaker will go into effect. And you see the cost or the place there about who you put on second base. Once again, we'll cover that more as we get into the rules. Next. Okay, key points to remember. No electronic devices, cell phones, tablets on the field, except for rule book or scorekeeping purposes. You know, they pretty much have to have, because I know a lot of people don't buy the paper rule book, so they could use it for rules in case they miss the rules clinic that Dave did earlier this year, or we're doing right now, or they can use it for scorekeeping purposes. With all the games going to be on Game Changer, you know, you're going to have what they can't do. They can't use it for communication. You know, if they're a firefighter, they're a doctor, they're a some type of public official, and they say they may get a call, then really they have two chances: leave the phone with somebody outside the fence, or leave themselves outside the fence. Because it's hard to decide if they're having communication about a business priority or an emergency, or they're talking about how the next inning pitching should go with somebody outside the field. So it's very clear that phones, if you're going to use them for communication, are outside the field. One change from regular season: managers and coaches are not permitted to warm up a pitcher during the International All-Star Tournament. All the players are all-stars, every one of them. They all got voted in. They are the best players from their respective league. Little League wants them to play. This is one that Little League has decided if they're all going to play, then the managers and coaches are not going to take a player position. So they can be in the bullpen, or they can observe from other places while a pitcher is warming up, as it says in the next sentence. They just can't be stationed behind home plate or in the bullpen catching the pitches. This is one that we're going to cover very clearly tomorrow night with the managers and coaches, and we'll cover it with you now. Coaches coach, managers manage, players play, and umpires umpire. Just stay within your role. Don't go through and attempt to coach players. That's outside your role in the game. Okay, close that so I can see. and then managers and coaches and players can't confer. The way I've always done it is I pretend that fence is a block wall and nobody can talk through a block wall as it goes through. Next slide.
All right, we got 3 questions, Mark, if you want to stop and answer.
Okay.
First question, when you said umpires weren't permitted to be used at scrimmages, were you referring to district umpires only?
Anybody that's involved in the Little League tournament shouldn't be umpiring. I mean, is it one that there's going to be people patrolling the area looking for? But again, as I said, this is Williamsport's tournament. It's not Mark's tournament. It's not a district tournament. I would hate for a team or a league to get bounced out because they were using umpires are going to do the All-Star tournament as an umpire there. It's up to you all to decide, how you're going to interpret the rules. But it's clearly stated in the rule book. I don't get to decide which ones I enforce. So I hope the managers and coaches make the correct decision.
All right. Second question, will managers have lineup cards in their binders heading into the game, ready for the coin toss, or host field provide response?
The host field will provide the lineup cards. When you come and turn in your book for review, they'll give you the lineup card for that game.
And our final question, what happens if a coach or manager needs to text their spouse? How rigid are we with the phones? Are there exceptions or no exceptions?
It's in the rule book that there's no communication going through. I would view a text as a communication. Again, I don't get to decide which rules I'm going to enforce. It tells me how to enforce, and that is one that someone can get ejected. If they need to excuse themselves from the game and the rest of the game to go tell their wife that pizza is fine for dinner, then that's what I'd ask them to do. Excuse themselves, remove themselves from the game, and go tell their wife or significant other that pizza is fine for dinner. And then they can be a spectator outside the field. I see the question on the screen. It's really, I can't give you all the exceptions, so it's the easiest way is there's no exception. As it goes through. Again, I don't want to get a manager or coach in a situation where they're removed from the tournament. There's many rules within the Little League tournament that they no longer give you a slap on the wrist. They take you out of the tournament for the entire year. It can be your first game or last game, and you're removed. You get erased from the books as a manager or coach. So again, this stuff that we would allow within the leagues because he's my neighbor, Little League has no neighbors like that. They do not want anything to embarrass the tournament. So that's where these rules are set to go. This is the way you're going to enforce it. Just the same way I've gone and done many different tournaments under many different organizations. And many times they tell me how I'm going to interpret the rules. Little League has told us how we're going to interpret the rules. There is no communication on the field. Anything else, Ken?
Nope, that's it. Thank you, Mark.
Next slide.
You had moved to this slide.
Okay.
It's okay.
Okay. Getting into
It's about
protest.
respect.
I think there's another slide. Because I don't know what to comment about.
We skipped the slide.
The slide we skipped because I can't go back is about respect.
Oh,
The managers need to respect, and this will be covered tomorrow night.
yeah. I can cover.
ask for time.
I remember that slide well enough. Basically, what it says is managers and coaches, and as the umpire, that's when they need to wait for the play to end. And then they need to come to the umpire who made the call with the respect that they deserve, but also approaching you as an umpire, as a game official, with the respect that you deserve. They can ask the question. If they come out ranting and yelling and waving their arms, if I'm on the field, they're not going to be here that long with me. Because again, this is a higher level tournament within what we do. As it says there, ask for time and then wait for the time to be granted. The umpires are looking across the field. so they can see that there's something, still a potential play that's going to happen. If the ball has come back in the infield and the action has relaxed, then it's time to give them the time and have them come out. But then on the flip side of that coin, the bottom paragraph, much the same with you. Or not much the same, exactly the same with you. Umpires need to discuss the situation with the manager, wait until the play is concluded, call the time, approach the manager with the same courtesy I talked about before. You know, what you expect to be treated and they expect to be treated. You're both adults out there on the field. And that's just one that within this district, we have been strong in these two paragraphs for a long time. And you don't see, you have never seen on any TikTok, X, Instagram, anything, fights on a District 33 field, because we don't allow it, we don't tolerate it, and it's built out of the foundation that we have built and fostered with these words in these two paragraphs.
The steel beam supporting the wooden mold will form it.
Okay, next, whichever one I'm on next, which I should be. There it is, protest. Okay, first off, managers have the right to protest. So if you ever thought it's up to an umpire to decide, can they protest or can they not? That's not within anything we're going to talk about tonight. Allow the protest. Now, it should be a violation of the interpretation of the playing rule. You didn't apply it right. Use of an ineligible player or pitcher, illegal substitution, violation of mandatory play. So some of these, it could be post game. It may be before the next game. Majority of these are on the field. The manager making the protest as the second to last bullet point has the right to take the protest all the way to the tournament committee in Williamsport, which I covered earlier. And as I covered earlier, decision of the tournament committee is final and binding. So the manager, that last section, they come out, they make their case with you, bring your crew together. If the crew can't decide, give them that no, we're going to stick with the ruling that we made, safe out, whatever it was. If they do not want to accept your ruling, then they're allowed to bring in the site director. Goes through the same process, explain to the site director what the protest is about. They will make their ruling. If the manager doesn't approve the ruling or accept the ruling, then it goes to the tournament director. After the tournament director, if they want to continue, it goes to the regional director to Williamsport. At any time, they can withdraw the protest. Because the one thing to remember, and Rick, you may know this, Dave, you may know it. I don't know how many leagues or districts are playing right now, but if every district within Section 6 that we're part of, that's 4 phone calls that Western Region has to handle. They can't handle 4 times, so you may be waiting. Unfortunately, a lot of the fields around District 33 do not have lights. It gets dark. There are times where the manager says, okay, I'm going to withdraw the protest, because if not, the game may end because of darkness. So again, they can withdraw at any time or they can wait it out. It's their right to do either one. Okay, next one. I probably don't need to cover this slide, because as an umpire, you already know that safety is the top priority. We want no child, we want no adult, and definitely we don't want any umpires hurt. Now, there are potentials that they will happen because of the type of game that we're participating in, but there are some points that are non-negotiable and have to be enforced by the adult volunteers on there. You know, managers, coaches, umpires should walk the entire field, checking for safety issues, go for holes. Did somebody leave? They didn't cut the grass and somebody left a rake laying out in center field. Looking for that. Coaches hitting infield or outfield, whoever's catching next to him, if it's a player, has to wear a catcher's helmet. You're allowed, if you're walking onto the field, you're out in the parking lot and you see it, you're allowed to walk up and tell the manager, coach, hey, the player standing next to you has to have his helmet. Players behind the dugout fence, you know, it's okay for an adult to sit or stand in the opening. Not a bucket outside, but they can sit in the opening. Every dugout has to have at least one adult in it if it has a player in it. The adult is the last one out, the first one in if players are coming in and out of the dugout. All the male catchers have to wear a protective cup. When you ask at the plate meeting, are all your players properly equipped? This section right here is part of what you're asking them. At the start of inning, only one player outside of the dugout. This would be the on-deck position, at all levels. So sometimes if you've done any tournament, you've been in a tournament, you see 3 or 4 players out there swinging bats. Not at a international all-star tournament game. It's too unsafe. And then every team must have a first aid kit on hand. And that's part of what the site director checks. Okay, next slide. More players, coaches, managers have to have position from an umpire before leaving the field. Hey, number 12 has to go to the restroom. Okay, good. Number 12's back. Okay, so they should check out and check in with the umpire. Players must be wearing helmets. It's real easy. If they have a bat in their hand, they have to have a helmet on their head. Again, the safety aspect. No bats in the dugout. We don't have the picture of the young man with the huge hematoma on his forehead where he got whacked in the head. Thankfully, he recovered and did well, but it's one of the ugliest Little League pictures I've ever seen. They can do it. They can have their bat in their hand when they're coming out, leaving the dugout to bat, or in the sections that have, or divisions that have an on-deck position, intermediate and above. Okay, only players can retrieve bats. And that player, because there's so many times you see that one coach in the dugout, because they have 2 coaches on the base paths, wants to run out and get the bat. No, because now you're violating one coach, one adult in the dugout all the time. They need to have a player who will get the bat. Base coaches may not leave. I will tell you, I've seen too many coaches. They get out there, they're standing by first base talking to the other dugout, and they get whacked in the back of the head because little Sally at shortstop didn't have an accurate throw. I said at the beginning of this, I want all the adults to go home safe too. Keep the coaches in the dugout until the catcher throws it down to second base. Players keep their helmet on. They may get thrown out at first. They have to wear that helmet all the way to the third base dugout. Because again, we don't want little Sally, Billy, Manuel, anyone getting hurt on the field. And then all the catcher's helmets, even though it may be the hockey style with the extended throat area, still has to have the dangling. It can't be tight up against their mask. It's got to be dangling and move. So it can adjust however their head position may be at the time. Next slide. Here, I'll cover it. I see Alex's question right now, Ken. It's real quick. If you see a safety violation, call time, correct it. Don't wait till the end of the inning. Get it corrected there. As I said, that player running to the third base dugout after he got thrown out at first, call time and tell whoever the player is, hey, put your helmet on. Going through. So that's the best way. Just call time, correct the safety violation, and then move on. Okay, concussion protocol. As it says, Regulation 3. This goes across all divisions. If a medical professional, I'm going to read part of this. Medical professional, umpire-in-chief, the player's coach, the player's manager, or the player's parent has determined a player sustains a possible concussion, the player must be at a minimum removed of the game and or practice for the remainder of that day. You notice out of that, it be the other team's manager, the other team's coach, the other team's parents that says, Mark doesn't look good out there. Mark just hit 3 home runs. That's the element they put in there so that there's no gamemanship into this. The league has to be aware, but really what it goes through, and on the next page we'll cover part of it. And there's going through. This is a section in the rule book that if you've never read it, get it read, because there's a lot of things as an umpire you don't have to handle, but you should be aware of what's going on. And then it's goes through and talks about some of the encouragements or recommendations from Little League at the bottom there. But go back to the top. There's a variety of people that can say, Mark I believe he's got a potential concussion. Once that is noted and he's gone through something that could cause a concussion, then they're pulled from the game. Next slide. Okay, these are ones if you don't have, take a camera, take a screenshot of what you see. But it goes through, and it's the signs. Coaches, umpires, or parents appears dazed or stunned. I know that may be hard to tell in a 12-year-old if they're dazed or stunned, because there are times where they're like that majority of time. But you're going to see a difference in their behavior. Forgets an instruction, confused about an assignment, position. Billy go to right field, and he got dinged earlier. Had a hard slide and hit his head somewhere. You thought he was good, but then you tell him to go to right field, and he starts putting on catcher's gear. Again, indication that something's not working well from a mental or physical standpoint. Moves clumsily, answers questions slowly, loses consciousness. That's a quick one. Even briefly, that child needs to come out of the game. Shows mood, behavior, or personality changes. Can't recall events prior to after a hit or a fall. And a hit, I don't mean a base hit. They got hit in the head with something. Can we go back a slide?
Yeah, I'm going. There you go.
Keep your fingers off the buttons, Rick. Symptoms reported by the athletes. I can't tell if they have a headache or pressure. That's what they're going to say. Nauseous or vomiting. You see the things there that the player is going to know. You may have to ask, as it says, are you feeling right? Are you feeling down? Anything to get it, and they'll probably agree with you. But these are all symptoms or signs that they need to come out of the game. Again, this is one that safety is a priority. We do not want anyone leaving the game in a condition that we had control over, or we could have controlled. Next slide. Okay, just like every other game that you've done here, first base dugout's going to be the home team. I don't care if it says visitors. The first base dugout where the home team's going to go after the flip of the coin. Third base is that. Photographers, news personnel may be on the playing field or adjacent from the playing field. We are very fortunate in District 33 that KUSI, they like us. One, because their station is within our district. So you see a lot of KUSI cameramen around the games. And it really comes on that they get authorization from the tournament director and then the umpire-in-chief of the game, which is typically the plate umpire, but they have to concur. Yeah, it's fine for them to be here. If you see a photographer that's just taking pictures, sometimes you may have to move them, because the best shot would be standing behind you, watching the ball come in. But I'm not going to have a photographer standing behind me if I'm doing the plate. They be in a safe position also, because I don't want them to go home in any different condition than they got there. Player alternates. Another thing could be called pool players, are not authorized and can't be on the playing field or the tournament site in uniform. So there isn't alternate players that are there. Tournament site director will review ground rules at the plate meeting. All the ground rules for that site must be in writing. Going across the different fields we'll play on, I don't think any of them have real unique ground rules. There may be some, because we use a lot of different fields, but nothing real strange out of the ordinary that you're going to have to play with. But the site director on site, ask them about any ground rules that you may not be aware of when you check in. Next. Okay. The first one just gives you an idea of what's going on. The site director really enforces the dress code for the games. We already talked about one manager or one adult manager or coach in there. Failure to maintain a safe environment. Someone asked that question earlier. Will result in a removal of that adult. If we ask them to do something, but they decide not to, then they're probably going to be asked to leave or told to leave. We don't usually ask them if they want to leave. Managers and coaches, I covered that earlier, aren't going to act as bat people. Site directors and umpires. And this is something that folks sometimes forget. We get told the rules that we have to enforce. We don't get to decide. Mark doesn't walk into a game and say, I'm giving 4 strikes today. 3 balls and 4 strikes because I want him hitting. I don't get to decide that. I've got to follow the rules and many of the conditions. I started off my presentation with, this is a Williamsport tournament. Williamsport tells us what to follow, and it's in the rule book. Okay, local playing rules. Once again, we allow 4 adults in the dugout, and that's very good until now. You can do that in regular season because you have a waiver from Little League. Little League doesn't allow that many adults in the dugout now. And then any other playing rules. Okay, Rick, I think it's your turn.
Yep. Ken, do we have any other questions?
We had 2. I gave a brief answer. The first question was, if a player is hit by a pitch and is injured, is he/she required to touch first base before a courtesy runner is allowed? One, it's not a courtesy runner if they're an injured player. So it's just an injury substitution, and they can be subbed for. They don't need to go run down and touch the base if they're hurt. Ball's out of play anyway. Anybody, any disagreements with that?
I think they should drag the gurney, load him up at home plate and drag the gurney to first. That's just my opinion.
Then there's coach's assistants then, right? Look.
No, it's the ambulance crew assistants. Yeah.
But no, Ken, you're right.
Yes, it's absolutely correct.
Yeah, and then is the home plate umpire always the game USC? I said usually they are, but it does not need to be the home plate umpire. You can have the first base, second base, or third base umpire be the umpire-in-chief if you guys want to run it that way.
What's going to happen is when we have semifinal, final championship games, there will be an umpire designated as a crew chief. So there will be a UIC designated for each crew. And that'll be put out on the on blue. They'll be designated.
Those are the questions. I have one that I didn't type in. Do we have any ground rules submitted to the district that have been approved?
I personally am not aware.
Yeah.
I know the only ground rules I'm familiar with that are new are for La Mesa National and the fencing that they have. But they've had that since that's been approved since the beginning when they first put it up, the first season they had it.
Those rules, Rick, if I remember, are normal baseball rules that they documented. Yes. If the ball hits the ground at La Mesa National, bounces and touches the screen, it's out of play. You don't have to have a ground rule for that. That's normal baseball.
There's no field or ground rules like they have at Choice, where if it hits the top of the container, then it's a home run. If it goes through the hole, then it's a home run. But if it goes to the left, no, there's no unusual ground rules that I'm aware of. We're not playing in Choice on that particular field anyway. Okay, let's start with the rules, and we're going to go through these because we're going to highlight the ones that are unusual or just new or just particular to tournament play. Everybody knows what a bat is. This is nothing new here. It's made of wood, material tested and acceptable. A non-wood bat must be the USA bat or BB core for intermediate and above. The traditional batting donut is not permitted. This has been around for a decade or more, and yet I've seen it twice, and I missed half of the first part of the season. The sleeves, I see a lot more sleeves. Okay, this is new. This is something a new update. The use of pine tar is allowed at all levels, or any type of adhesive substance but it's only on the grip. It's not allowed on the taper or the bat itself, and it cannot cover up the USA bat logo. That's a big change. And if it's not an illegal bat if they fix it before, if it's caught before they step into the batting box. Okay, as it says here, approved rule: any action with a damaged bat is legal. Remove the damaged bat. It's that simple. Okay, tournament rules. Okay, this tells you the baseballs that we have to use the regular season and tournament. Those are the baseballs that you'll be given. At the baseballs will be given to the site directors along with the lineup cards, and those are the balls that you'll be playing with. Playing rules. A copy. This Mark covered this. The Little League. You must have a copy of the Little League rule book and the app of the Little League rule book. The playing rules is the responsibility of the tournament director that they have to have it on site. This is again. This will be emphasized tomorrow night when we have tournament directors, site directors, and that in attendance. The Umpire-in-Chief, one of the crew should have the app on their phone, and I'm not telling everybody you have to bring your phones on the field with you. 1 foot in the batter's box. This is tournament rule 3. This is probably one of the most contentious rules that I deal with through the regular season, but it is enforced. After entering the batter's box, the batter must remain in the batter's box at least 1 foot throughout the bat. And there are many exceptions, and we'll cover that. But the penalty is you warn them first, and then you start going through. Okay, let me go back. This rule was put in to delay a game, to prevent the delay of game. But like Mark said, we don't choose the rules. We can't pick and choose the rules that we choose to enforce, but we need to be consistent. Don't start using this in the 4th inning when one team is way ahead, or it needs to be. You need to start enforcing this rule from the very first pitch. This rule's been around for a while now. We had a whole year that we had options, but now it's not an option anymore. Okay, let's read here. After one warning on the batter, the umpire shall call a strike. Any number of strikes can be called on each batter. No pitch has to be thrown. The 8-10 through Little League, the ball is dead, and no runners may advance. Intermediate and above, the ball is live. So if they want to advance, they're at their own peril. And the batter may return to the position in the batter's box and assume a new count, the new count, at any time during that at bat, unless the 3rd strike has been called. Illegal bat. In all tournament levels and divisions, the penalty for the use of an illegal bat, if it's discovered before the next player enters the batter's box, the following turn at bat of the player who has used an illegal bat is: the batter's out. The manager of the defense may advise the plate umpire he'd like to keep the decision, to decline that decision with this portion of the penalty. But that must be done before the next pitch is thrown, at the end of play. The manager of the team will be ejected from the game. And this is in red. This Little League is not messing around. I'm up at Western Region, and we lost a manager and removed from the remainder of the tournament. And they're legit. They are serious about this. The batter who violated the rules will be ejected from the game, and the offensive team will lose one eligible adult base coach for the duration of the game. And talk about base coaches. Base coaches are required. It's not optional. They need to have 2 base coaches for the league. Uncaught 3rd strike. 9-11 and up. We don't have minors, majors. We have 8-10, which, as it says here, the rule will not be applied to the 8-10 in that division, the lowest division that we have. But 9-11 and up, the batter may advance on an uncaught third strike and read the rules. I like to say, I say to myself for uncaught third strike, empty or two. First base has to be empty or there has to be 2 outs. If those don't apply, if the base is not empty or there's less than 2 outs, he's out. The batter's out. Courtesy runner. Okay, this is all levels up to juniors. The tournament team may permit a courtesy runner for the catcher and/or pitcher of record. If you have your pitcher or catcher's on base and you'd like a courtesy runner, it's going to be the person. It's going to be the person who made the last out goes there. The manager doesn't have a choice to put his fastest runner on the base and take him out. The manager needs to call time. Once it's grounded, he goes, I'd like to have a courtesy runner for my pitcher on second base. So the person who made the last out will go to second base. Oh, but that's my catcher on first base. Okay, well, then that'll be the second to the last out. And in that order. It's that simple. Okay, they don't get to pick and choose. The other manager doesn't get to choose what runner. Little Abner who weighs 400 pounds. Yeah, I want him to be the courtesy runner. Okay, it's that simple. I know there's a lot of words right there, but it's that simple. Ask for time. I want a courtesy runner for my pitcher, catcher, or both. That happens often. And it's the last out or second to the last out. Special hits runner, this is for seniors only. I don't think we're going to spend a lot of time on seniors division because there's how many people we have in this chat? We have 2 or 3 that do seniors. Okay. Give you a second to read over that. That's a lot of words. We don't have a lot of umpires doing seniors. It's evident by the trouble we're having covering the senior divisions that we have now. Sign stealing. This is just unsportsmanlike conduct. Stealing and relaying signs to alert the batter to the pitch, selection, and/or location is unsportsmanlike contact behavior. And in the judgment of the umpire, this behavior, if it's occurring, the team and manager who is responsible, including all players and coaches, shall be warned. Those responsible, including the player, catchers, and/or managers, shall be ejected if it continues. So if you're U2 and you're seeing it, because I don't know how you're seeing it, or whatever umpire sees it, call time, and then you warn that team, that player. If it continues, and then the player and the manager who are doing it will be ejected from the game. Okay, this is one's going to be I believe you're going to see this because managers and coaches are not permitted to warm up the pitchers at home plate or anywhere. Because they've been able to do it during regular season, you're going to have managers and coaches go, well, we've been doing this all year. And you go, and you know what, Skip, you're absolutely correct. But for the international tournament, for tournament rules, it is not permitted for the managers or coaches or any adult to warm up the pitcher. Mark covered this earlier. They just can't do it. Umpires are not required to inspect the equipment prior to the start of the game. Managers of both teams will confirm with the umpire at the plate conference that the equipment is proper. And when you're doing your plate meeting, these are the questions that you must ask each manager. Are all your players present? Are all your players properly equipped to play per Little League rules? Is all your equipment legal? That's the minimum questions you're going to ask that manager. And the only response that's acceptable is yes. Is all your equipment legal? Oh, I think so. That's not an acceptable answer. It has to be a confirmed in a positive, yes, it's legal. Okay, that way, if during the game you find an illegal bat, he's just lost his position for the rest of the tournament. And he goes, well, nobody asked me. And it's not going to fly. Even if you didn't ask him, he's got the responsibility of his equipment. Okay. The penalty, the team will be removed from the remainder of the international tournament. The player who used the illegal bat, the manager will be removed, will be ejected from that game. Little League is hot on this. They blame the manager. They don't blame the kid, as the manager is the one who has the responsibility to ensure that all his equipment. But the kid is ejected, so he's not going to play for the next game. But the manager's done. Okay, just one moment. Okay, Mark, can you take this? I have a call I have to take. It's an emergency. Can you?
Okay. So a few years ago, and I don't many, probably 10 or more, Little League moved to how many pitches, because they had done many studies that the stress and potential injury to a player pitching was from the repetition of throwing pitches. The more they pitched, the more that they were subject to harm or could experience harm. So they put in a pitch count. Well, then it got to where
Just a minute.
they did that much more, and studies in that, and they approved thresholds, and the threshold allows them to continue pitching once they pass the max. And I think one of the slides we have coming up, or maybe it already went, and I'm not remembering, it talked about how many pitches they could throw and how many days of rest they needed. So once you pass that threshold, you're on to the next day, unless the pitch rule exception applies. Okay, Rick, we need to go back to the slide. So it says a pitcher reaches any threshold imposed above for his or her league age while facing batter, the pitcher may continue to pitch until any one of the following conditions occurs. So they're pitching to batter number 8, and they reach the threshold. They keep pitching until that batter reaches base. He got on base somehow. Hit by pitch, walk, base hit, however. Batter is retired. Third out is made to complete the half inning or the game, or the pitcher is removed from the mound prior to the batter completing his or her at bat. For pitching rules with threshold exception, threshold reach will be based on the first pitch, the last batter. So this is more of a scorekeeper, pitch counter responsibility, but we like to cover to give each of you the idea that somebody is allowed. Now, as umpires, you should be aware of pitch count and where they are. If you need to turn around and ask the scorekeeper / pitch counter, please do. One of my best bets that I offer people when I go to a game, I introduce myself to those 2 key game officials. They're working the game just like I did, even though they have a more comfortable seat, and hopefully they're not hit by pitches. But it's one that I can ask them that, hey, whenever someone is getting close to completing their maximum pitch count, I need to know. So 85, 95, depending on my level, or 50, as an 8-year-old may be pitching, he only get to 50 pitches. So let me know. Let me know when they're 5 underneath that, because then my little counter starts in my head, so it goes through. And I'm ready for a threshold exception if I need it going through. Next slide, Dave or Rick.
We have a backlog of questions when you.
So do we want to go through this, Ken, or get the questions, because they're more covering the rules we just went through?
There's a question on the threshold. Can you explain how to determine the threshold reach on a D33 pitch log? I assume you mean the actual. I assume he means the actual like checklist log that.
Right. Yeah, that's Jeff. That's not a question that I'm prepared to cover tonight because I don't have the log here in front of me, so I don't know all the information that's contained on it anymore.
Probably a better question for tomorrow night. I'll hold it. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. Tournament rule 4, pitching rules, non-seniors, so it's juniors and below. Any player has played the position of catcher in 4 more innings in a game is not eligible to pitch on that calendar day. So a catcher gets into the 4th inning and catches 1 pitch, and then the manager says, "Oh, wait a second, I wanted to change little Jeffrey," and then it's time to get little Jeffrey out. Well, little Jeffrey still gets credited with 4 innings caught, even though it was 3 innings and 1 pitch. 1 pitch in an inning counts as a full inning. So that's what that first part is talking about. A player has played the position of catcher for 3 innings or less. They're eligible to go to pitch. They move to pitcher and they deliver 21 or more pitches on the same day. They cannot go back to pitching. Now, if they deliver 20 pitches, they can go back and catch for the remainder of the game. The more astute and experienced managers will work on that. So it's important to know when they say, "Hey, I want to change my pitcher. I'm going to move to catcher." Probably a good time to turn around and talk to your scorekeeper. How many pitches does little Kenny have now? Well, he has 22. Okay, well, sorry, Kenny can't go to catch because he's thrown 22 pitches, and he can't return to catcher. Hopefully they know that because they're coming to our meeting tomorrow night. But in case they forget, that's something you can help them with. Okay, C, pitchers once removed from the mound, majors and below, cannot go back to pitching. Easiest divisions to rule it on. Once they're off the mound, they can't go back in. Intermediate and above. Well, I'll cover intermediate and junior here. A pitcher remaining in the game defensively but moving to a different position. So little Kenny, who was my pitcher, I'm going to take him off. He hasn't reached his max pitches for the day. I'm going to put him in left field because I have 2 left-handed batters, and I want Bobby to go in and pitch to the 2 left-handers. So they go, or the 3 left-handers. So they go and let Bobby pitch to the 3 left-handers. One of them got on base. Now I can put Kenny, move him out of left field. I can put Bobby out in left field, or I can put anybody else out in left field, and take him back to the mound. I can do that 1 time in the game. So the next time those 3 left-handers, Kenny's either coming out of the game or he's going to pitch the left-handers that time because he's only allowed to be removed and returned 1 time in the game. Doesn't matter if it's in the same inning or not, but only 1 time in the game can Kenny get back up there and pitch. And I can't remember all the slides. He maintains his visits and he maintains his pitch count. So both of those still they're tagged, and that pitcher that's coming back still has all that. Okay, a best bet that I offer is, as an umpire, tell the manager, okay, Kenny's come back. Remember, he's got 2 visits and he's at 48 pitch count. Just so, and then you go through. Okay, next slide. Okay, non-senior. This is the max pitches. Manager must remove the pitcher. This is the one, as I said, my best bet. I talked to my pitch counter and scorekeeper earlier. I want to know when an 8-year-old's getting at 45, 9 to 10, they're at 70, 80, and then 90. So I can make sure we maintain. Because a pitcher going across the threshold allowed to pitch could get a manager ejected from the game and from the tournament. I want to do everything I can to keep that manager in the tournament. They don't always believe that I'm out there trying to help them, but I do try to manage their nighttime activities for a little bit. So they come out when they reach these max pitches. Thresholds will apply. Continue to pitch if they reach the pitch limit while facing a batter. Okay, that was the exceptions or the thresholds I covered earlier. If a player delivers 41 or more pitches and not covered under the threshold, they can't play the position of catcher for the remainder of the day. So a catcher going to pitcher, they can have 20 pitches and go back to catcher. A pitcher, if they throw 41 or more pitches, so they can throw up to 40 and they're good. If they throw 41 pitches, they can't play catcher for the rest of the day. So just some of those limits that go in there. And it's one, these are the type of things I recommend you all write on your hand, right on the back of your arm, right inside your face mask, just because these are ones that really show how confident you are out on the field, and an experienced umpire knows these type of things to where there's no questions. And it really raises your credibility as an umpire if you're already ahead of these before they come up. Next slide. Okay, 14 or under. This is the days of rest. Once again, as an umpire, you're probably not managing this whole lot, but it's a good one to know. So non-senior, so 14 and under. So juniors and below. 1 to 20 pitches, no calendar day of rest is needed. 21 and 35. So as I read these, you're going to notice one thing. They're the same as you've been using all year. This part doesn't change for the International All-Star Tournament. It's the same days of rest that you've used since game 1 back in February. The manager should know this. No pitcher shall pitch in 3 consecutive days. This is the time of year where they have a chance that they could play on 3 consecutive days. Again, my best bet is I go up before the game and I see the site director. Okay, I want to know who my ineligible pitchers are for the day. They haven't had their days of rest, and anybody that's pitched the last 2 days. And they can get that off the pitcher's log. And I already covered note 2 when I covered the response or the thresholds earlier. Again, I offer things that if you do, you can manage your game much better. Hey, I want to put number 12 out there. Nope, can't do that, Dave, because number 12 pitched the last 2 days. He's not allowed to pitch on 3 consecutive days. Boom, end of discussion. Now he's got to find somebody else. Versus letting him go out, throw some warm-up pitches, somebody remembers it. Now my game is delayed. My hot dog in the snack bar is getting that much colder because I didn't manage the game the way I should have. Next slide. Okay, intermediate and below. A pitcher cannot pitch in 2 games in a day. Juniors, they can pitch more if they meet these exceptions. Hey, Dave, I don't know if you can see whoever's got some background noise. Can you mute them or mute everybody other than me?
That was Ken. Ken, if you need to speak during Q&A, just unmute yourself.
Okay, so it says if a pitcher reaches 30 pitches while facing a batter in the first game, they can continue to pitch under the threshold exempt and then return the same day. Juniors, 30 or less, even though they may have threshold exceptions, so it may be more than 30 with the threshold, but they can come back and pitch in the second game. I don't think we have any 12-year-olds in the junior division, but if they do, they cannot pitch in 2 games in a day. Right now, our schedule does not include any doubleheaders for any team, but there's always a chance of darkness or weather that may cause a team to play 2 games in a day. Even a partial game, if they pitch in, they can't pitch in a second game that day. Next. Okay, now this is talking kind of what I just did. If a game's suspended by darkness, weather, or other causes, darkness is usually it, because if you look at your yards, you see we're not getting enough rain. And they got to be resumed the following calendar day. That's the key in this part of Tournament Rule 4. It's going to be resumed the next day. The pitcher record at the time the game was halted. So when I said time, whoever was pitching at that time, and they haven't delivered 40 or less pitches, and they've delivered 40 or less pitches, they may be able to come back. And you see the two conditions there. A pitcher delivered 20 or less pitches before the game. If they pitch the next day, their pitch count goes to 0. So they got freebie pitches for the game that was suspended, in a sense. So they begin at 0 for the continuation portion of the game. If they deliver 21 to 40 pitches, then they go back to what they had. So if little Kenny, who was pitching, goes back and he has 30 pitches, then his first pitch in that game will be pitch number 31. That's a good one, again, to verify with your scorekeeper pitch counter before the game. So when it comes, it shows your credibility to say, okay, he's going up. He had 30 pitches yesterday. His first pitch is going to be 31. Because I want to have that conversation before I ever say play. Next slide. Okay. So this is one of those as you go through. It's going to get, well, it's Little League has added many death penalties into the tournament. And I say that because this portion of the rule is one, if they violate it, they can be removed from the tournament. They cease to exist in the tournament. There is no flag that's going to hang on their garage wall after that because they're not in the tournament anymore. Failure to remove a pitcher who has reached his or her maximum number of pitches required by league age, or they use an ineligible pitcher, is basis for protest. These protests will go all the way to the tournament committee, trust me. They're going to result in suspension of the team's manager for the next 2 scheduled tournament games. Even if those games are played at the next tournament level. So it's championship game, they win it, they're suspended, they're going to miss the first 2 games of the next one. And then, of course, additional penalties, including forfeiture of the game or disqualification of the team, managers, or coaches. This is the death part, may be imposed by the tournament committee. I've said a couple times while I've been presenting, I do everything I can to keep managers and coaches on the field and in the tournament. If anybody ever gets ejected by me, they did it themselves. I've got to administrate it, but they didn't because I give them every chance. One chance I'm giving them tomorrow is when I present the rules. I'm going to talk just like I am to you. If you do this, you may get kicked out of the tournament, because I want them fully aware that some of their actions may take them from hanging that all-star shirt in their closet anymore. Next paragraph, or next slide. Okay, seniors. Pitcher reaches the 30-pitch limit while facing a batter. Just the same thing. They're subject to the threshold, and if they go through and they pitch same batter and reach 30 pitches, then go to catcher for the rest under the threshold. Next slide. Okay, here we are in seniors. Okay, as Rick said, there's not a large group. I'm going to let you read this. It's just like the one I covered earlier, except they get more pitches. The pitch counts are a little bit heavier. Like on the first one, juniors and below, it goes 1 to 20. There's typically 10 more pitches added to each of these levels as you go through. Everything else is exactly the same as we covered earlier. So if there's any question on this, put it in the chat and we'll cover them in the Q&A. Next slide. Okay, seniors, a little different. A player can be used as a pitcher in up to 2 games in a day. Now, the exception is a pitcher delivers 31 or more pitches in the first game and is not covered under the threshold exception. They can't pitch in a second game. So if they pitch 30, they can come back. This is seniors. They pitch 31, they can't come back. unless they're under the threshold exception. Those 4 threshold exceptions I covered earlier. And then I know we don't have any 12-year-olds in the senior division, so I'm not going to read that last sentence. Okay, more rules for seniors. I'll give you a buzz through those real quick. Very much the same as we covered for the other lower divisions. It just they get more pitches. If you have questions, put them back in. I would love 50 questions because I would love to have 50 people that want to umpire seniors. Next slide. Okay, visits. So visits. A manager or coach can visit with any of the players during the game, but they can't do it without receiving permission from an umpire. So, as an umpire, the coach wants to come out. 1, make sure action has ceased. You're in a relaxed situation where nothing is really going to happen. Grant them the time. Let them come out if they're eligible to come out. When permission is granted, the manager or coach will be permitted to go to the mound to confer with the pitcher or any defensive players. The manager or coach is granted timeout, but they don't go to the pitcher. Anytime they talk to a defensive player, they're going to be charged with a visit to the pitcher. I would believe that we've all seen some instance on a Little League diamond where the pitch comes in, the catcher's confused on what the next pitch is, and the catcher gets up and runs over the dugout. Well, guess what? That's a visit. This talks about the manager going out. Sometimes the manager doesn't have to get off the bucket in the dugout. The catcher comes over and they're charged with a visit. 8 to 10 division. Pitcher will be removed on the 3rd visit per inning. So 8 to 10, 1 division. They get 2 free. On the 3rd, they got to remove the pitcher. They get 3 free in the game. The 4th time, they got to remove the pitcher. These are more that I recommend you understand because it saves time as soon as they're coming out. Now, something myself and many other umpires do, as soon as Dave gets done with his visit, he's going back, I'll turn around and go, Dave, that's your 1st visit. Dave, that's your 2nd visit. Because I like to remind him. So when he comes out and wants his 3rd visit, okay, Dave, who are you putting out? Well, I didn't know it was my 3rd visit. Yeah, you did because I told you both times. So who are you putting out there? Okay, everything above 8-10. Pitcher, they get 1 free in the inning. The 2nd time in an inning, they're pulling the pitcher. They get 2 free in the game. The 3rd time, they're pulling the pitcher. I do the same thing for those. Hey, that's your 1st visit, 2nd visit. This rule applies to every pitcher who enters a game. Anytime they go up the mound, these rules apply, including returning pitchers, as I talked about earlier. Intermediate and above is where you're most of the time going to have somebody that's eligible to come back. Real easy. These are all defensive that I've talked about. Offensive, real easy. They get 1 per inning. If that coach, 3rd base coach, likes to come down and as his batter is walking to the plate, they have a conversation with them, it's real easy. Dave, that's your visit. And then I don't give Dave any more visits because I don't get allowed to determine which rules I'm going to enforce. 1 offensive timeout per inning. Next. Mandatory play for senior, real easy. There is no mandatory play. All other divisions, so juniors and below, continuous batting order, CBO, is now being used for all players on the team. Affidavit present at the start of the game. The start of the game is defined as when the lineups are exchanged at the plate meeting. That's very important to where you come up to the plate. Typically I take the home teams, or I take the home teams lineup, and then I take the visitors lineup. I have them both in my hand. Lineups have been exchanged. The game started. At bat rule number 2. A lot of things went in there. It doesn't apply because of the CBO. And then all regular season rules relating do apply to all stars. So next slide. Much easier for continuous batting order since it came in, because that continuous batting order is set. So you're not taking number 2 on line 4 and substituting number 6 form in, because they all have a line on the batting order. There is no adjusting the batting order for the whole game. Okay, substitutions re-entry. This is everything juniors and below. Player may be entered or re-entered defensively at any time. Now, of course, a pitcher is a player. So knowing when they're coming in, when they're not allowed, has to be in. Same with a catcher. So there's a few more rules that will govern what happens if they're removed from the game. Players injured, becomes ill, or must leave the game. Real easy. If they come to the plate and one of those items apply, you skip over it. There is no penalty. Injured, ill, or absent player returns. They come back. They're back in their original. If they were on line 5, they're back on line 5. So they can leave with no penalty. They come back. They go back on the same line of the batting lineup. Now, if someone is unable to complete a play appearance due to an injury, they swing for the fences and all of a sudden their back hurts, or we ask them to leave the game because they were ejected. The next batter in the lineup shall take their place, assume the count. Much the same as every other time that you've had to rule on a player at the plate, because it's the same in the regular season. Batter becomes a runner and is unable to run. Who are they replaced by? They're replaced by the last out recorded, or if they're a pitcher catcher, with a courtesy runner potentially, if it applies. Mandatory play, improper substitutions, if discovered, shall be dealt with as batting out of order, Rule 607. And hopefully all of you were with Dave when he reviewed the rules earlier this year. Dave, I don't remember if it was February or so, but I know you know this rule because I was the one that covered it. And we talked about proper, improper, and approved. Okay, next slide. Now, senior divisions. This is the Bat 9 division. So illness, injury, or ejection prevents a team from fielding 9 players. They have more than 9 players on the field or on the team present for the game. A player previously used in the lineup may be inserted. Okay, so this whole thing right here is much like regular baseball. So as you go through, again, if you plan on doing seniors, add the question. This is no different. If you're doing seniors, you've umpired for a while, and these are the same type of substitution re-entry rules that are used in all areas of baseball, Little League all the way to the pros. Next slide. Please. Okay, did we skip a slide? Did we go too quick? Okay, substitution. Now, improper substitution is a basis for protest. Protest involve improper, not resolved before the next pitcher play. And I'm going to cover this one because if you do seniors, there's some elements that you may not have seen before. So this can be protest, improper substitution. Protest involvement, and this wouldn't be batting out of order. Batting out of order, you know how to correct this. This is the wrong person is in the batter's box or being substituted right now, potentially not in the batter's box. The pitcher remaining in the game, moving to a different defense can turn anytime they remain in the game, but only once. So just like I covered earlier, senior league only, the designated hitter will apply during the tournament. Any player in the starting lineup, as I move to I, including the designated hitter who's been removed for a substitute, may re-enter the game once, provided such player occupies the same batting position. So if they were on line 5 when they left the game, they come back in on line 5. Once a substitute, they weren't a starter, once a substitute is put in the game, then taken out, they are not eligible to re-enter the game. Unless it becomes a situation where I don't have any more eligible players, then the other team will be allowed to determine who gets back in the game there. Next slide. Again, if you have questions, this is seniors going through. Okay,
Mark, can I
suspended.
interrupt real quick?
Yeah, go ahead, Dave.
We have a number of questions in chat, and I think there's one from Alex Nerding that I believe we skipped over.
Okay.
So, Ken, going back to 8:03 p.m.
We have a couple of these skipped over. I've been waiting for the Q&A.
So let's do it now as
I'll
we're
get
getting close on time.
Okay, so the very first one at 7:49 was TLL, which I assume is Tier Standard Little League, has a few ground rules that need to be approved by District 33.
Have your president get in touch with Clay Berry like ASAP and present the ground rules to him.
Okay. The next question was I thought the 2026 rule updates allowed the thumb protector. I answered that.
Yeah. Thumb covers are allowed, as I have read that rule a lot. So it says no bat in any level of Little League is permitted to be altered. There's a few exceptions. Thumb protectors, thumb covers are allowed. Everything else you see, a choke knob at the bottom, a choke up where the knob comes up the bat for a little bit and they can choke up without being able to touch the bottom of that, are not allowed. So you get a thumb protector, and that's the only alteration, in a sense, you can make to the bat. Everything else is going to have it be called as an illegal bat.
I would say simplified. It's just if it goes on the bat, it's not allowed.
Yeah, exactly right. Probably a simpler way to say it than I did. No, it was a simpler way to say it than I did.
All right, we had a rules question that I think we answered, but you had one that we have not gotten to. The question goes back to the courtesy runner. Say the catcher is on base and the pitcher is the last out with 2 outs. And they use that pitcher as the courtesy runner. Can they turn around and again use another courtesy runner for the pitcher after that substitution?
And Alex doesn't see any language just allowing this, because Alex must not have spent as much time reading the rule book as I have and talking to people. Alex, you're exactly right. So catcher's on base, the pitcher batted before and he was the last out. You put the pitcher on there because he's by rule the only person that can run. Once the pitcher is made the courtesy runner, then you can then substitute for the pitcher. And it would be the person that made the second to last out.
We need to make them go through this entire rigmarole, or can we?
Yeah. It's probably one you don't have to have the pitcher coming out, but it needs to be. You need to explain it very clearly to individuals. So that may be one that, hey, managers, come here. Okay, so catcher's on whatever base. Let's say second. He wants to put he wants a courtesy runner. Last courtesy runner was the pitcher. He's then going to substitute for that pitcher with the second last out. So what we're going to do is we're going to take number 12 and put him out at second as the courtesy runner for the pitcher. I just save time. Both of them understand under the rules. Boom, we move on. Yeah, I wouldn't make them go through the mechanics of that.
All right, and this one is one I really want to highlight. I'm just going to read this question was about, are the persons who are pitch counting instructed to not alert anyone for a failure to remove a pitcher who has reached their max number of pitches? All volunteers we will want to stop people from pitching over their limits. The pitch counter, the scorekeeper, the scoreboard operator, the umpires, all of us are trying to stop that from happening.
In a second, the other manager.
Yeah.
Because everyone is trying, and this is, I would put that the other man under the safety for the child, the player. But yeah, it's definitely okay for a pitch counter to inform the plate umpire. Once again, if you took my suggestion, I already knew it was coming up because they told me 5 pitches before. And I can, on even a bad day, I can count to 5.
All right.
Any other, Ken?
Yes, we have 2 more. Defensive manager checks an injured position player on his way back to the dugout. He talks to his pitcher as he walks past the mound on the way back to the dugout without stopping. Is that considered a visit?
If I'm on the game, yes, and I'm hoping you too, because he did have a visit, that player. And hopefully before he went out and talked to the defensive player that was potentially injured, he told me what he was going to do. That, hey, I think he's hurt. I'm going to go talk to him. Okay. And I'm out there with him. or another umpire would be out there with them, to where there is no strategy being, well, as he walked back, he stopped to talk to someone else. I may ask the question, hey, is he injured too? No. Okay, then that's a visit. Anytime they have a visit with a player, it's considered a visit, or a discussion with a player on defense, it's considered a visit. That's why we want the managers to come out and say, hey, I want to go talk to my player. I think he's hurt. As good umpires, you're seeing what may have happened with the play, and it should be common sense that he's going to go talk to him. When he asks, I'll probably ask, you want to talk to him because he's hurt? Yep, okay. And then you have an umpire with them. Because sometimes their managers, coaches, strategy talk seeps into the conversation pretty well.
All right, last question. Can a coach switch player positions during an inning? I.e., can a coach move center fielder into right field during the inning? I answered yes. You can move people around as much as you like.
And you're exactly right. Now, we could get into travesty of the game if after every pitch he wants to shuffle the players. That may be a travesty under that rule, but if he just wants to move one player during the inning, I have no problem.
That's all the questions. Thank you.
Okay. So we're talking about suspended games. Any game in which winner cannot be determined in accordance with it shall be resumed from the exact point it was suspended, regardless of the number of innings played. Okay, once again, as umpires, this isn't something you really have to administer, but we like you to know. Incomplete, not regulation, or tying games are considered suspended games. Contests decided by forfeit. I've umpired since 1990. I have never had a forfeit. So they don't happen a lot, is what I'm trying to say. And forfeits are only decreed by the tournament committee. So that somebody's calling Williamsport late at night for them to go through. Next slide. Okay, this talks about what makes a regulation game. Regulation games, each tournament game, I mean, is played to the point it's being an official game. Okay, small diamond, 11-12 down to 8-10. 4 more innings are required. Intermediate and above, 5 or more innings are required for it to be a regulation game. That should only come into play if it's a real slow game and it gets dark. You should be able to complete the majority of the games because these are all stars. They play better, hopefully. Goes through. So if the home team is ahead, you don't have to play the bottom of the inning. If the visitor ahead, then you're playing the full 4 innings or 5 innings. Okay, next one. Regulation, when a winner can be determined because of weather, darkness, curfew. Must be resumed in the visiting team ties the game. Okay, for some of you that have been around, at one time they allowed you to revert back. Well, the revert back rule does not apply anymore. You got to play the innings, and that's what this is talking about out here. So it's called the visiting team ties the game or takes the lead in the half of the inning, and the home team doesn't complete. What we do is we pick it up from right there. Wherever the last pitch, you just time, and the world stops until the next day. Because when you come out and say play, you're picking up the game from exactly that point. You'd have the same couch, you'd have the same players on the bases, if there were any. You'd have the same number of pitches with players and all that. Okay, next one, 2 games, and it tells about the bottom. We start all our games late enough that usually if it gets suspended, we're not coming back and playing it later in that day. But there's exceptions for that. It's called out there. 2 or more games are scheduled. No time limit. There are no time limits in All-Stars. Easiest way to say that. They used a lot of words. No time limits in All-Stars for any division. Next slide. Okay, tie games. When the completion is 6 innings or 7 innings, intermediate and above, scores tied starting in the top of the 7th, intermediate and above, top of the 8th. Each inning half inning thereafter, the offensive team shall begin its turn at bat with the player scheduled to bat last in that respective half inning. So I can't always say it'll be the last person that made it out, because if they got thrown out at second base, they may not be the last batter that batted. So it's one, check with your scorekeeper to see who should be on second. Tell the manager, hey, number 4 is going to start it on second. They probably already know it, but again, I like my games to move. And it gives you an example there. Seniors, eligible substitute or special pinch runner. Now, if it's a pitcher or catcher that's going to second, again, they can use the courtesy runner rule to not have them run. But that's how you start the 7th inning. That's how you'd start the 8th inning, is having somebody on second. And it's to speed up the games. Next. Protest. Okay, we covered this a little earlier. Once again, probably not something that you're going to have to deal with, except if you know a protest could be lodged at the end of a game. Do not be a track runner and run as fast as you can to get off the field. Allow the managers to come. Okay, managers allowed to protest. Coaches are not allowed to protest. Mandatory play when facts become known, which means it could be during the game, it could be after the game. Ineligible pitcher or player, again, facts become known. Next slide, which is questions. So, Ken, any other questions that we need to cover?
Just one. Did I hear correctly that there are no time limits in All-Stars? Yes, there are no time limits.
Yeah.
You did hear correctly.
I don't know what PAT. I think it's points after touchdown. So I don't know what they're referring
That's
to.
the player appreciation tournament. That is not all stars, so they can have whatever rules they want.
Okay. Thanks for the clarity. Yeah.
Otherwise, we covered the questions as they came up, or we answered them via text, Dave and I. Are there any other questions?
Okay, so George says we still skipped a slide. George, which slide did we skip?
Tournament rule 12.
Okay. Let's go back to tournament rule 12. Okay. Okay. If I skip this one, I apologize. But it's the run rule. So run rules are the same here as they are during regular season, except the 8 run in the 4th or 5th is or 5th or 6th is no longer applicable. So you get after, and I'm going down to note 1, 15 or 10. Well, 15 runs. I'll go back up top one. One team has a lead of 15 runs after 3.5 or 4.5 innings. Then the game is over. That's a run rule. Okay, 10.5. It's and let me get that because I may have confused. At the end of 3 innings, intermediate 4 innings, and if the home team's ahead, then it would be half innings that come in because the home team will not have to apply or play. If a team has a lead of 15 runs, the manager shall concede. Shall is a very big word in the Little League book. Shall means it shall be done. There is no questions. So they'll concede the visit. The game's over. At the end of the regular game, one team has a lead of 10 or more. Once again, they shall concede. Note 2, a game determined by 15-run or 10-run rules shall be considered a regular-ish game. And then the note I started with at the beginning of this, there is no 8-run rule. So all the run rules are the same, except there is no 8-run. George, any questions from what I covered, being as I skipped it earlier, sir? And George isn't answering, so silence is nope. He says nope, thank you. You're welcome, George. Any other questions? And we're now at the point, if you want, just take yourself off mute, ask the question. We don't have to have you type it in the chat.
Guys, thank you for this.
You're welcome.
Is this file, this slideshow, available to us as well, please?
I will let Dave and Rick take that. Now this was Nate. This was recorded, so you're going to have access to it that way because it'll be posted on the district website. I don't know exactly how Bob will post it, but that's where we usually post it so you can see. Presentation, I'm not sure.
I have something to bring up. Due to the time limit, I noticed Shira is hosting a lot of junior all-stars. Just keep in mind that the gate closes at 8 p.m.
Yeah, which would be one of those local ground rules that goes in, Tony.
Okay. I believe they brought it up today at the meeting, 7:40 at the max, 7:40, 7:45, because they're trying to have at least 15, 20 minutes to clear up everyone so they don't get locked in.
Right. Because those park rangers want to be home by 8:02.
Or just
We do have another question. Are junior umpires allowed in this tournament?
Can't answer that question.
Yes. Same rules of apply.
One thing that we will say for All-Stars, we are not going to be using game coordinators. Both umpires, if one umpire is a minor, the other one must be an adult, or there must at least be one adult on that crew. So we're not going to get into, the tricky situations of rule enforcement and protests and that kind of thing with a game coordinator.
Is tomorrow's meeting the coaches meeting, or is that for site directors?
Yes.
For both?
Site directors, coaches, managers.
It's virtual too, right? Because I'm assistant coaching 11Us, and my head coach thought it was in person. It's just Zoom, right?
No, it's in person at Darnell Charter, which is located over by Choice Lake.
All right, so it is in person. Okay.
Yeah, go on the website and you can get the address.
Okay, will do. Thank you.
And Alec, yes, did answer your question. You can pass through essentially the first out of the inning. So you should just make it known that they are still they don't have to follow the process exactly. You're not going to make the kid run out there. You should have discussion with the coach, saying, "Hey, it should be your pitcher. You're going to leave your pitcher out there? No, okay, you can courtesy run for the other crews."
There may be some debate on that. The way that I read the rule, that would not be allowed.
Right. That's the way I read it as well.
I mean, I read it the same as Mark, because it doesn't specify. It just says if they're
The last recorded out.
Yeah.
You can't skip.
Well, then hopefully no one protests, because neither of us can get agreement. Or can we get a
If we can
follow up?
We'll get agreement before tomorrow night, definitely.
Yeah.
All right. Are we
And
ready
also-
to talk about schedule availability in blue?
I did have one more question. I don't know if I
Go
had
ahead.
asked earlier about so this is my first time doing the All-Stars tournament, and I do a lot of lower level games like during the regular season, and you see a lot of safety violations, and you kind of just, hey, coach, clean it up, please. Can you clean it up? If you see something that's repeated, what do you guys do for in this tournament? If you have called timeout and you've pointed out that there's safety violations and it keeps happening, what's the proper approach to proceed from there?
So Alex, the piece I would say is, you see it the first time, stop it, get it corrected. And make it clear this is not what we're doing on the field. After that, it really becomes a question, does someone get to stay in the game? Because they're willingly violating a safety rule. Because if you explain, we're not going to do it, this is what cannot happen, and then it happens again, that's like someone coming over and saying that I'm a POS and I tell them not to do that and then they come out and do it again? How many times? I can't allow that, especially with safety. So it's probably one that if they're going to do it again, then I'm probably, and you got to judge the seriousness of it, as you go. But it's one, if they continuing to violate safety rules, it's one that you got to take action because safety can't be violated. And I would welcome any of the other umpire staff to provide their perspective.
I'm in agreement with you, Mark. It's steadily escalation. You first start with correcting it, and then if it continues to persist, I give a warning, and then if they still do it, I don't think there's another way to do it.
Don't be too quick to hook, but at the same time, we need to take the safety of the players' best interest to heart. So I'm with Ken and Mark on this one. The first time you're going to bring it up and tell them we're not doing it that way. If it happens again, I'm giving them a stern warning that if it happens again, they're going to be going home. All right, so 8:51 p.m. Just to reiterate, Ricky, I know you had that follow-up question in chat. Yes, junior umpires are allowed, but we're not going to allow a full junior crew. So no game coordinators. One of those umpires must be an adult. All right, I'm going to do a quick share of the Blue app. For those of you who have only accessed it on your phones, this is what it looks like if you open the full web application. You're going to notice that for All-Stars, you cannot umpire your own league's teams. That is a distinction that we've had through for TOC, even though we kind of encouraged you to avoid an appearance of impartiality that you would umpire some other games. Now it's a requirement. Only under very rare circumstances, we have a situation where maybe an umpire got injured and couldn't make it to the game, and we had to put somebody in. If there are 1 or 2 or 3 games in an entire All-Star season where we have to put a league umpire on a game, those are how rare those kind of exceptions happens. So what does that mean? For the opening round games, we know who those leagues are. So it's easier for you to go sign up for those games. But as we get deeper into the tournament, we don't know until win-loss, and it may be the night before. So as the tournament progresses, we use 2 criteria to assign those games. There are game requests and there is availability. So if you have looked at the bracket and you've identified that the team, your league's teams couldn't possibly be in that game based on where they are in the bracket, whether they win or lose, they're going to avoid game 12 or something like that, then you can go ahead and request those games. We'll approve you sometimes in advance if we know that it's not going to pose a conflict. What we also ask for you to do is to go into your profile. This is available on the web app. It's also available in the mobile app where you can change your availability. So you can do bulk availability updates where you say, I am available starting today, every day through the end of June. And you can see all of those days turn green. Now, it's super important that you remember to update your availability when your girlfriend or wife calls you and says, hey, let's go out of town for this weekend, or let's go on a date night on Saturday. Just remember to come in here and mark yourself unavailable. You can also set partial availability. So like maybe Sunday, you want to enter some time frames. You might only be available from 1 o'clock. It's not really cooperating. Don't know why. There it goes. So PM through 8 o'clock PM. So now we know not to assign you on a game before 1 o'clock. So please, all of you go and update your availability and remember to keep it updated. And I wanted to give a shout out to Alex Nerding, who is the only umpire in blue that has updated their availability. So thank you, Alex, for doing this. The rest of you, please go and do this tonight. And then just make it a habit of checking in, every day or two or three. Whenever you open the app, go through, make sure your availability is current, and keep that updated. When we assign games based on win-loss, where a team will be moving on the next day, those games might not end until 8 o'clock at night. And then we're going through and filling out the crews for the next day. So this is pretty normal during All-Stars to get assigned to a crew for a game that's going to be happening the next day. I know that it's kind of a challenge trying to have a personal life in the midst of All-Stars, umpire assignments. And, to the extent that we can book you out in advance, we would love to do that. And sometimes we just can't. So please understand that we're doing the best that we can in order to slot you in as soon as we know who the matchup is going to be.